Well, let's get more on this now with Haytham Faraj, who's a lawyer and retired Marine Corps officer. He joins us now from Beirut. Really good to have you back with us, Haytham. Let's start with those key potential targets, some of which include nuclear sites. Do you believe, in all reality, that nuclear facilities could be attacked by Israel, given the fact that any damage caused would go well beyond Iran's borders?
Oh, that's a tough question because nuclear facilities aren't just the fissile material or the dirty material that you might have released. There's other facilities that could be targeted, and so it's difficult to answer that question without understanding what limitations the U.S. may be pressuring Israel to have. I think there are other infrastructure targets. There may be some collateral facilities to the nuclear facilities. And as we know, Israel has been very successful in the past at targeting scientists who are very valuable to the nuclear program. So it's really a wild guess, but I think the better question is what happens after that strike? Where does that take all of us? Where does that take the world? Because I think Iran has made it clear that they anticipated, or they made it clear that they are going to target Israel or attack Israel for for Israel violating Iran's sovereignty by assassinating one of its guests, by continuing to attack Iranians, by assassinating one of its senior generals, along with Hassan Nasrallah. And so the idea that now Israel gets to retaliate is certain to result in a Iranian retaliation. And so I think that's where the analysis ought to go. Iran is a massive country. Israel is not going to do much damage because it attacks a few targets. But I think it's the response that's going to be more interesting.
Yeah, so one of the responses we are awaiting is the one from Israel to Iran's recent deployment of around 180 projectiles towards Israel. That didn't cause widespread death or destruction because most of them were intercepted. But are you expecting a full-blown response here from Israel, given the fact that it didn't cause deaths or damage as might have been possible?
Well, given that Israel has a complete blackout on any real information from Israel, we have to take their word for it. And I frankly don't take Israeli word for anything. They've shown themselves to be very good liars. They are pathological at lying. They lie about targeting civilians. They lie about legitimate military targets. They make a business, particularly this government, of lying very well. Today, they disclosed after 3 days that Iran did, in fact, hit some or strike some of their air bases, and with very precise targeting. So strategically, when Iran launched those missiles, they clearly understood that some would be intercepted. I'm sure they intended that some would be intercepted. That's how they planned it. And so the missiles that were intended for the targets that were struck did strike. And so the analysis of what hit isn't what was necessarily what the Israelis anticipated, because that would have been planned for. It's what did Iran expect to hit and how many of those reached the target. Iran says 90%. Israel says most of them fell out of the sky because they targeted them. I don't know what to believe or what's right, but we do know that Iran targeted military facilities. I don't think there are many casualties, if any, in the civilian population, and so I'm sure the U.S. is saying, look, you have to have, if there is going to be a response, it has to be limited, but it can't lead to a regional war. I think that's where we're at, and I think really the analysis, when you're analyzing the effectiveness of the targeting, it has to begin with what did Iran intend to hit? Did they have 10, 15 targets and they launched 180 and they struck those 10 or 15 targets? Or did they have 180 targets and only struck 10 or 15 targets? That's the battle damage assessment that must take place before we talk about percentages.
Okay, Haytham Faraj, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you, as always, for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much. Nice to be with you.